So I've had quite a few messages asking for a rundown of what I take with me in my Guitar Tech Peli case / workbench. So we're going to do that now. I've just literally got back from a 3-week tour with my good friends in Les and Jake. It was an absolutely incredible tour around Europe. And now the case is looking a bit grubby, needs a good clean out. So I'm going to take everything out and do a restock as well of all my consumables, tools, etc. So now is as good a time as any to give you a rundown of what I typically take with me. If you guys have any other thoughts about what you usually take or what you've found that you've needed and didn't have once, do let me know in the comments. I'd love to have a discussion with you. But for now, let's get into it. Okay, I'm going to show you the best I can. This is a Peli 1560. I find it's the best compromise between size and portability. I think it's the most common used, as well as the 1510, which I do have as well, sometimes for quick shows, but these days for longer tours at least it's just too small for me. So the 1560, even this can be a push sometimes. Let's take a look. So the first thing I do when I get to a show and I get my case set up is I open up this insert, which is by Naut Cases. I've got a video on my Instagram and TikTok of where I did a paint job on this and a couple of mods, but in general it's a really good setup. So I then add the neck support, and the only drawback, or the main drawback with this insert, is it restricts me for depth on the lid, so I have to keep some things off of the lid. So generally what I'll do is I will plumb in that and I'm good to go. And then I also take out my backup tuner, which is the Boss TU2. Then I grab my guitar cable, and I'll generally use the padlock hole in the Peli and then the padlock hole in the top for storing the cable ready to go. So I'll walk you through the case lid first. You saw me put this little Marshall battery amp on the lid first. Basically that is really handy if you ever want to just check that the guitar is working correctly. Just make sure it's getting output, make sure it's sounding right, no distortion, no problems with pickups, anything like that. Runs off a 9-volt battery. I'm running everything here from battery power. I have toyed with running mains to the case, but I find most of the time I just do not have access to mains power on that side of the stage, particularly when you're hopping from act to act and you're not in their regular tech spec. If you were, you could kind of request that you have power always available, stage right or stage left, whatever side you go on. But when you kind of artist hop and you do short runs and things, generally you won't have power, so it kind of felt like a waste of time for me. So I run everything off battery. What I am going to do is get a rechargeable pedal power supply, so that everything will run off that, and then I can charge it up and down with USB, which will be more economical and just more convenient as well. So in here I've got a beat up iPhone 7 that I literally just use for a clock. Doesn't do anything else, it can't handle anything else, it's so old. So that's what I use that for. Just handy to have a stage clock. And 9 out of 10 times the artists won't have one when they should, and they come to me to ask how long they've got left. So it's really handy to have. Down here I've got my in-ear monitors. I use a set from a company called ACS Custom in the UK. Really well priced monitors. Really good for the money. Custom molds, so absolutely perfect. And yeah, if you're not on a massive budget and you can't afford Ultimate Ears or whatever, then these are definitely worth a look. And UK based, so can't go wrong for the people based in Blighty. Second backup tuner is a Boss TU2. My main backup is this Korg, and I'll explain why. My main tuner is a Peterson Strobo Stomp, which obviously famed for its accuracy. So especially if you want to do intonation, those are the tuners to get. This Korg supposedly has the same accuracy. The jury's still out on that for me, because obviously it's a much lower powered device. But it's just handy if I need to quickly take this off stage to do an acoustic or whatever, electroacoustic. It's just really handy to have. It runs off triple A's, I think, or double A's, so super convenient. So it's good to have one of each type, but the main beast is obviously the Strobo Stomp. If you haven't used one or you haven't got one, I would highly recommend it. So also on the case lid, I make notes. I have a few sort of quick prompts for intonation and tunings. Some people will laugh, but you know, if you're under pressure, you're on a dark stage, and you've just got no oxygen to the brain, you just need a quick reference as to what the next note is going to be, or what have you, and which way to move the saddle for intonation. It's there at a glance on luminous tape. So yeah, definitely worth doing. Also on this tour there was 2 guitars, and I changed them on alternate nights, so I just kept a record of when I'd done each one. And of course, stickers that I find / be given along the way. This really cool one I found in Germany that someone had just made with gaff tape. I thought it was really cool. Somebody stuck it in my case, and I thought, yeah, that's going on there, that's a keeper. No case would be without LED lights. Of course, everything looks better with LEDs. Get yourself some LED lights in there. Make it look cool. Yeah, stage is going to be dark, right? You need to be able to see. Also, to aid with the darkness, I have this clip-on, which is actually like a music stand light. So I just clip it on the top there. It's powered by USB-C and recharged, USB-C. So it's battery powered. It just gives me a little bit of light when I'm working on guitars down here. Not enough to become, say, a nuisance for the stage. So it's just enough to be subtle, so I can get work done side stage, backstage, whatever. Moving on to the main part of the case. I usually have my tuner in there out of the way. So I've got endless supply of cleaning cloths. I colour code them for various different tasks. Yellow for lemon oil, of course. Red for the dirty jobs. And I think I did green for the final polishing. I can't remember what I used blue for, so it's a mystery. Mystery colour. Electrical contact cleaner. This is an absolute must. If you get a pot starting to act up and you just need to do a quick repair, this is the stuff to use. Guitar cleaner. This is what I use for the afterwards. What I use if I'm on a fly day, the first thing I use is rubbing alcohol, otherwise known as isopropyl alcohol, IPA, depending on where you're from. I went through a whole tub of this on tour because it was so hot. The guys were sweating buckets every single night, so I ran out. And to finish the finish clean, I use the Dunlop 65 Deep Clean at the moment. It's serving me pretty well. Smells nice, cleans well, leaves a good finish. Normally, if I'm not flying, I would use what's called panel wipe degreaser, which the only ingredient is naphtha, which is the same as Swan lighter fluid, essentially. So panel wipe degreaser is the same stuff. It's much better at degreasing and cleaning, but super flammable. I'd never be able to get that through airport security. So this is the next best thing, and this is also good for clean electrics as well, so bonus. Spare patch leads. This one is long enough so that if my main cable ever goes down, I've got something here I can still plug in and just about reach my tuner. And if the artist needs a spare patch lead, I've got one. Goes without saying, but roll after roll after roll of tape. Take different colours. You never know, the band before or after you might be using a specific colour, and you need to spike your stands in a different colour just so that you know they're yours. And handy for notes, as you saw at the back. Also have some black gaff as well, because it's super handy for making quick on the spot repairs. Super glue, this is Screwfix's own brand, but called No Nonsense. It is so good. It will stick pretty much anything to anything. It's really handy to have. I've even had to fix shoes with this before. Dunlop 65 fretboard oil, lemon oil. Use this in a very small amounts. You do not want your fretboard to be oily when you restring. Make sure this is either completely dried off naturally or you've buffed it completely dry. Do not restring if your fretboard is still greasy with this stuff. This is great. Fretboards, open pore fretboards do need oil, but cannot stress enough, the tiniest amount, and buff that sucker dry. Do not leave any of this on the surface. That's when you run into problems. This may seem silly, but baby wipes, absolute lifesavers when you're on tour. You know, if you're doing load-ins, you're lugging around filthy flight cases, you then don't want to put all that black all over your guitar strings that you've just done. And very rarely is there facility to wash hands on stage or near stage, so keep a pack of wipes. It is handy. Spill a drink, anything. So handy. A random case I found on this tour, which will be handy for picks and other such things. This one's pretty vital, but a torch. I like this Nebo pen size one. It's I think it's AAA batteries, super bright, small enough to have in your pocket without it being obnoxiously large. More tapes. These are the small spiking ones. They're really handy. On this tour I had to make luminous fret markers because the guitars being used had really dark fret markers, so I had to make tiny little markers out of these, so just handy having the small ones as well. Endless supplies of spare batteries. Even if the artist provides them, which they usually will, have your own stock just in case. I did have more than this, but Berlin airport disposed of most of them on my way back, which was super annoying. I got one way fine, but coming back they chucked away all my batteries. Thank you, Berlin. Sharpies, they get stolen every single time you try and use them, so just keep a stock because you'll always lose them all, but again, vital. Stringing tools, string winders, cutters, pliers. Always have a spare string winder because they break so easily, and you could be quite stuck if you don't have one with you. More stickers that I find along the way. I found these random Rob Ross pixelated versions on this tour. I don't know what that was all about. Yet to find out. I think it was in Belgium or Germany. Picks, these are my own ones I keep in there just in case I ever run out, and I find multiple picks constantly along the way, and I just keep them as spares because you never know when they might be needed. These bits for me are more for major setups, so I don't tend to dig into this too much on the road. I've got a fret rocker there for checking for uneven frets. I've got some graphite lubrication which I'm really struggling to travel with. It does not travel well at all. The tub just does not seal well, so I need to have a rethink of that. Maybe I'll keep the dry version as for nut slots essentially, so maybe I'll look into the dry graphite lubricant. And then we've got some radius gauges as well for just setting up string radius. Usually obviously that's already done, but vital to have as well just in case. Spare guitar strings, spare bass strings. 99.9% of the time the artist will provide their own. I keep my own little mini stock grid with me just in case, because you just never know. More random stickers that I find along the way. This is my tool case, so in here I've got screwdrivers, I've got an adjustable wrench, a sharp knife, toothbrush for cleaning, really getting in there in saddles and pole pieces, scissors, absolutely vital, tweezers, feeler gauges, pretty much anything, drum key, and some wrenches there for truss rods. Really handy pack to have. In here I've got Allen wrenches. I've got a good quality ball end set in metric and imperial. I want to take out some of the bigger ones that never get used, just to save some weight really. So we'll get around to that. Pretty important, soldering iron and solder. If you cannot solder and you're going out as a tech, what are you doing? Learn to solder. If you have a guitar pot, anything, go down, XLR cable, you could be the hero of the day just from a quick 2-minute solder. Learn how to solder, take one with you. If it's more than a weekender, take one with you. More spare patch leads. Power / charging cables, just a mixture, you never know when you might need. Head torch, super handy. I don't use it so much, but handy to have. Electrical tape is pretty critical. If you need to do a quick electrical repair, or you need for coiling cables as well, it's quite commonly used. Make sure you leave the little tab for the next person so they can get it off. Power adapters, if you're going abroad, keep a couple in your case. Never know. No way to plug that soldering iron in otherwise. Clamps, pens. Yet more picks. How many picks can one person need, I ask? Spare earplugs, because you just never know, your in-ears might be out of reach, out of action. I've got a pair of Docs Pro plugs. These are excellent as just earplugs, for taking off high-end, nasty high-end. Really recommended. And I've just got a disposable pair there as well. Clamps. Super handy. You need to hold something down, or you need to hang up a banner or flag or anything. This kind of seems silly to have to say, but take some business cards, advertise yourself, network. You never know who might be side stage behind you. Might be needed. And that's pretty much it. That is my setup. It served me so well on this tour. So now I need to give the inside of this case a really good scrub down, restock my stolen batteries, and just make sure everything's topped up and ready to roll again on the next one. So that's it. That's a rundown of what was in my case. Now I need to have a good clean and restock all my bits and ready for the next tour. You don't often get this amount of time to do this, so I'm just taking this opportunity while I've got it. And I'll see you in the next video.